2414 is a podcast about finding hope and common ground through casual conversation. Like the friends on the road in the New Testament, in Luke chapter 24, verse 14, we want to walk away with more understanding that leads to more conversation as the journey continues. Thanks for walking with us.
On your mark. Get set. Go!
Hi, my name is Shane Walters. I'm joined by Pastor Dan. We're going to speed run this podcast.
It's a race.
Yep, quickest podcast. And
All
that's
right.
it for all, folks. Join in next time.
Wow, we did it.
We did it. World record.
Wow.
I was going to start by saying, give me fuel, give me fire. Give me that which I desire. Ooh.
So all right,
like
Metallica.
I feel like that could be the slogan of a long endurance race.
Yeah.
Give me fuel, give me.
That's really that's insightful, Shane. You already have comprehended the craziness that is ultra running.
Comprehended.
Yeah, you got it. You've got a grasp on the sport.
Oh, wow. I've done it.
Well done, Padawan.
I basically ran the 100 miles.
You did it.
Oh, man. Well, hello. Hey.
Hey, Shane.
Well, this is 2414.
Bonus episode.
A bonus episode, intermittent, where we're talking about Sabbath and rest. But today we're talking about the complete opposite.
Very opposite.
The unrest.
Yeah, you know what's not restful is to run for hours on a time.
Run for an entire day straight, and I'm excited to get into the weeds of it.
Yeah.
With you. I'm going to be very inquisitive and asking all about it.
Yeah, Shane is going to ask all your questions. So, dear listener, if you've wondered something, don't worry. Shane's going to ask that question.
And I'm going to try to play dumb at some points. My experience of running is cross country in high school. Having what maybe was asthma attacks in middle school from running too long and undiagnosed. I don't know. I think I might have been out of shape. It was Wisconsin in the 2000s, so I don't know. I think I've gotten better since then. But
either undiagnosed asthma attack, maybe I was just not in shape. In any case, that's the background. We all come from somewhere.
That a case. So maybe I've run more than the average Joe, but I have not run nowhere near a marathon or nowhere near 100 kilometers and nowhere near 100 miles.
Right.
So there's a lot to dive into. But for 2414, we'd like to either start with highs and lows, a question of the day, or a game. I've just got one question because it's a bonus episode.
Question.
It's random. It's fun and whatnot. Just, I don't know. It's insightful for when we're recording this. So what was one unique thing that happened to you today or this morning?
One unique thing that happened to me today or this morning. Well, I had a unique Zoom call right before this.
What is a unique Zoom call?
Well, it's related to ministry here at St. Luke's, but Concordia Seminary raises up and trains pastors for the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod, and one of their faculty members just finished a sabbatical looking at like recruitment and how people end up at the seminary, and so he did a bunch of digging in their books and realized, hey, there's a handful of churches that have sent a whole bunch of pastors, and one of those is St. Luke's. I should call them. Oh. So I just had a delightful Zoom talking about how we think about ministry and how we think about young people being part of the church and people serving in the church and what healthy ministry can look like and maybe why ministry can be unhealthy at times and challenging. So just somebody I've met before but didn't really know, and we got to just kind of share partnership in ministry and a nice conversation this afternoon.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah. What about you? What's something that's unique or what was it? Strange? Unfamiliar?
I had to slap myself on the wrist because I was gonna say I poured way too much sugar in my coffee this morning, and it was
you don't
way
even drink
too
coffee,
sweet.
do you?
Well,
sometimes
I do just to do something.
Okay. Did you pour too much coffee in it? Or too much sugar in it?
Too much sugar.
Okay.
But then I also remembered that's not nowhere near the most unique thing that happened this morning. My oldest brother and his wife had their child this morning.
Whoa!
So at
Congrats.
5 a.m. this time, 7 a.m. Wisconsin time. Asher Francisco Welter.
Francisco. That's fun to say.
Isn't it? Yeah, right?
Asher Francisco.
Yeah. He was saying all their kids have within their names, first name or middle name, it's like the lineage, the the ancestral lineage. So it's like it's
Okay.
Abram first, and then what? Isaiah, right?
Abraham,
Or
Isaac, and Jacob.
and then Asher.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so it's like super exciting celebrating that.
It means blessed, I believe.
Asher or what was your name again?
God is my judge.
Yeah, your judge.
Sweet dreams. God's watching. All right. Thanks. Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Way to go. Welcome to the world, Asher.
Yeah.
Glad to have you with us.
Yeah. So in a theme, what did you say, Asher?
Blessed.
Blessed. So speaking of blessed, running. I don't know. There's the transition.
There it is.
So what was the exact date you ran?
Man, you're asking the hard-hitting questions already.
I know, it's a little
Shane.
deep.
I ran on the Saturday before Memorial Day, which was the year of our Lord, 2024, May 25th.
May 25th.
So May 25, 2024.
And the event officially,
it's called the Pigtails Challenge.
Yeah.
So this race has been going on for a number of years. Race is a generous word. Some people are racing, some people are death marching, some people are participating. But the event, has been happening for a bunch of years in Renton, which is a little city here in Western Washington. There is a water reservoir called Lake Youngs. But you could literally run for 20 hours around this thing and never see the lake. So it's, I'm sure it's beautiful, but it's shrouded in trees and forest, and there's a lake in there. So Lake Youngs in Renton, there is an event Memorial Day weekend every year.
So it happens every year. Mm-hmm. It's always called Pigtails.
Pigtails Challenge, same place.
And it's just a bunch of people running 100 miles?
Well, there's a number of different events or distances. So they have everything from 200 miles down to either 50 miles or 50 kilometers. I don't know. So the lowest tier, I don't know what to call it. Yeah, the shortest
event is significantly further than a marathon.
Yeah, so I think
which is 26.2.
Yeah, so anything over 26.2 miles is considered an ultra marathon. So the shortest distance is an ultra marathon.
Could I Could I host and participate in an event that's 26.3 marathons and be considered an ultra?
26.3 miles. Yeah. Yeah, that would count. You wouldn't get any respect from the ultra marathon community, but if you wanted to offer a beginner's ultra marathon,
I've got new goals in life.
Yeah, you could be a race director, Shane.
Well, I've never ran a marathon, but I want to jump straight to that ultra marathon.
Yeah. So there was a 200-mile run. That one started at 6 a.m. on Thursday.
200. So there's 50K or 50 mile.
Mm-hmm. They started Sunday morning at 6 a.m.
Okay, so these all start. I guess besides when they start. Okay. So like 50 mile or 50 mile, 100K,
which is 62 miles,
and then 100 miles,
150 miles, and 200 miles.
200 miles. That is just an aggressive leap from 100 to double.
There's something that ain't right about those people.
So you started on the 24th. The
Saturday morning, 6 a.m.
I'm curious. Well, all right, so how many? I don't know. So how many?
Lost for words. Where do you even start?
Where do you even start with this? So all right, I'll focus. I'll focus on the 100 mile.
Okay.
You started on the 24th.
Yep. Saturday morning.
Was there like a start of the race? Gunshot, on your mark, get set.
I don't think they had a gun. So at 6 a.m., there were the people doing the 100-kilometer race, which is 62 miles, and the people doing the 100-mile race, which is 100 miles. And started at 6 a.m. So they had a big digital clock that was more or less running from when the 200-mile people started on Thursday morning. So the guy...
So you started on Saturday.
Yeah. So there's like 40 of us doing these two races combined, and so we're kind of hanging out at the start area, which I got some stories before that if you want to get to that.
Ooh,
but the guy, the race director, he's all chill. It's 6 a.m. on a Saturday. He's like, all right, guys, thanks for being out here. Don't get lost. Don't
get lost.
He's like, there's no turns. Like if you get lost, that's on you.
There's no turns.
Like there's no signs out there. You just kind of there was one sign that said go left or right.
Oh.
And then for the rest of the thing, just figure it out.
Okay.
And he goes, all right, well, when this clock gets to 48 exactly, we're going to start. So we got about 2 minutes, and then he's like, all right, guys, just about a minute. He's just talking, no microphone. He's just like, all right, guys, about a minute.
So complete opposite of like a race.
So then he's like, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, have fun, guys. Go get him.
Are you guys all looking at the same clock too?
Yeah. It's a big red clock. It's maybe 4 feet wide by, a foot tall.
It's way too casual.
Yeah, he was just like, all right, and then, because it's such a long run, it's not a 5K. Nobody's taken off. It's kind of like, well, I'll start walking a little bit, start jogging, and kind of ease into it.
What does that start? How many of you are running this 100?
There are about maybe 20 of us doing the 100 and maybe 20 doing the 100K.
So that big, like, long start, you're all like right at the edge of that, like, line, like.
There's just 40 people hanging out. I mean, that's how many people are in line at like at Costco. It wasn't like a giant.
Did you let like the front group people go?
I started 2/3 of the way back.
Okay.
I knew myself.
You weren't going to be dead last in this, but.
Well, you can't win the thing in the first dozen hours, but you sure can lose it.
You can lose.
You can
on the
ruin
first
your day
lap.
real fast. You can't win that quickly, but you can lose real fast.
Oh no. Okay, so you see people. Were there people who just took off like, I'm gonna win this? Like they were there for a whole different set of reasons.
Well, there were people doing something different than I was doing out there. So
Okay.
no, but it wasn't like a 400 meter. Like nobody took off.
Yeah.
So the fastest person out of that start was maybe doing like an 8 or 9 minute mile, and they didn't keep that up for long if they did.
Okay, but that's a pretty darn quick like starting pace.
Yeah, I'd have to look up what his pace was. I haven't done the math yet. Something disgusting though, I'm sure.
But you have those statistics. Like,
I've got my statistics over here. Yeah.
All right. And do you have like?
I can tell you what my first mile was.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Right. So my first mile was a 10:39.
10:30. Okay. I'm trying to like.
And that was with about 900 feet of elevation gain and loss. So I went up 900 feet and down 900 feet. Well, I guess that was over 10 miles. So it was probably about 100 feet up and 100 feet down per mile.
Because it's one big loop.
Yeah, so it's about basically like a 10-mile loop. Yep.
Okay. And so, all right. I'm trying to process. All right. So first, that I know for this race you could have pacers.
Mm-hmm.
Did you run that first lap with someone?
Yeah. So to kind of get a running start in the morning, woke up at like 4. Around 4, yeah. Left the house about 4:30.
Did you go to bed?
A little bit. Didn't sleep much that night.
It's like before Christmas. You're just too excited.
I had to think of all the things. So Charlotte drove me there because I knew I wouldn't be able to drive myself home. So we get there and
just you, not the kids.
No, yeah, just so I've got like an awning. What are those things? Like pop-up tent.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Tent awning, portable tent.
Yeah, it's a little pop-up tent thingy. So I've got that. I've got like bins of like clothes and extra food and headlight for the next night and spare batteries and socks and shoes and chair, all this kind of stuff. So we get there. It's like, all right, Charlotte, why don't you set up the table and I'll start unloading? And she's like, oh, I forgot the table. Well, that was like one of your two things. Like you were going to do the tent and the table. That was your job. No, it was great. So there happened to be in this park where we were meeting one picnic bench for the entire park. So we just claimed it. We just put our canopy right over it and said, "Mine."
Is it a? You're saying the park is a lake. You don't see the lake. Is the park itself?
There's like a trailhead, and it's a 9.4 mile trail. So a lot of people walk and bike and ride horses on it.
Okay, so it's purely for like trail. It's not like
there's not a
there's
playground
a stunning
there.
view.
No,
like you get to look at the whole run.
You're in nature. It's nice. There's trees.
Okay.
Yeah. So it starts. Yeah. So we set up my gear and it's raining.
You left at 4.
Yeah. I woke up at 4, left about 4:30, got there about 5, set up my gear for 20 minutes, and then sat in the car because it was raining and cold. Oh. So the first loop I had a pacer. His name was Mike. And Mike and I have been training on Friday mornings together off and on for a couple months. So he came out for, I guess it was 6 miles, kind of the first little partial bit.
So what was so I think a lot of impressions. So like it's a big loop. Mm-hmm. You run that loop about 10 times.
Yeah, 10 times.
So then what is this first?
So
portion of that.
the race was 100 miles, and the loop is 9.4 miles. So 10 of those get you 94 miles. So to get the other 6, the race started with a 3 mile out, 3 mile back to make the math work.
And was a 3 mile out back part of the loop, or was it
that was like the pre-loop?
Pre-loop.
It was all on the same course. It was on the same course. Yeah, so it was 3 miles out, 3 miles back, and then a full circle. And it was 10 full loops, and you alternated direction. So you go clockwise for the odd number loops and counterclockwise for the even number loops.
Okay. So you're not, I guess there's...
For variety's sake. Yeah, sake.
There's a little variety.
And it made it easier for people to find you. Like if you needed help or you had somebody who wanted to join you, in theory, they could have a sense of which direction they should run to either catch you from behind or to run into you from the front.
Okay, so there's practical purposes for. Okay, so for the first 6 miles, this Mike was
with me, and then I got back to my awning over the claimed picnic table because I just claimed that at the start-stop area.
So you've got your tent over the picnic table, and you get a little moment of composure, like after...
So when the race starts, the clock starts, and the clock never stops until you're done. Mm-hmm. And so, in theory, you could never stop for any kind of aid or refreshment and just go until you finished or died.
One or the other. No.
Or, in theory, I could do my 6 mile out and back. I could sit down. I could have yogurt. I could take a 5-minute nap in the chair. I could change my shoes. And meanwhile, tick-tock, 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 that's 15 minutes. And so then I can go back out and do my next loop. And after that, I could ignore my aid station. That's the kind of fancy word for this,
for your
area,
home base.
Yeah. Or I could sit there for 45 minutes, but the clock just keeps going and the miles are still waiting for me. So after every loop, I would come back to my home base aid station and take care of whatever needs were presenting themselves, kind of assess nutrition, hydration, blisters, weather, too hot, too cold. Do I need to, if I'm by myself for a little bit, do I bring headphones? Do I need my poles? Do I want to get a rain jacket or a headlight?
So there,
lots of assessing and regrouping would happen there.
So every time you got back to the tent, there wasn't always somebody there per se.
No, I had Mike for the pre-loop. I had Kevin for loop 1. Were you there for loop 3 and 4? I mean, loop 3?
I was.
Or loop 2,
loop 3. Surprise, I was there.
Yeah. Sorry, jumping ahead. No, Shane and Lauren came out.
We did. I think we joined you, I think, just after you completed a marathon.
Yeah, so maybe I was by myself for that loop. So
you were alone when you got.
So I had Mike for 6, Kevin for 10, and then by myself for 10, and then picked up Shane and Lauren.
Okay, and that was we were there for 3 loop 3.
Yeah.
Okay, but before I guess rewinding before all in the thick of the running. I think I'm a little curious, the pre-race. So you left at 4, you got there around 5-ish, something like that. You're just sitting in the car. Do you literally just cold turkey, you're sitting in the car? Well, starting in 5 minutes, time to get out, or time to, you set everything up.
Yeah, so first thing, we set up our tent. We realized we didn't have a table, so we claimed the table, set up a tent, laid out all my gear, and tried to lay it out intentionally of what's going to make sense to my tired brain later so that...
Just make it as efficient.
When I come back in an hour or, after 2 hours of being out there, what do I think I'm going to need in what order? And so I try to arrange all that.
Yeah.
And then kind of checked in and got my bib number. So the race number... that also has the electronic timing chip in it. So when you run over the timing mats, that's how they keep track of your timing. They gave me a t-shirt. They gave me a t-shirt. They gave me the t-shirt that I paid for in part of my registration. And
did you have to wear it there? Or is it more just like...
Nope, I gave it to Charlotte.
Okay.
She earned it. And so, not knowing how long those things are going to take, it started to rain or continued to rain. So it's cold and rainy. So we sat in the car.
So what's cold? What was the temperature when you got there?
It was, I think, low 40s. I think it was. I think the day spanned like from 40 to 60 was basically the day.
Beautiful Memorial Day weekend. Memorial weekend.
Yeah. So I sat in the car until it was about maybe 20 minutes till the race was supposed to start. At that point, I kind of changed into what I was going to wear for the race. So I had warm up pants on, but I was just going to wear shorts. So I adjusted my shoes, make sure everything felt good, my bib numbers pinned on. And then usually about 15 minutes before the race, they'll have some briefing of, all right, here's the thing, watch out for this. And so, so last 15 minutes more or less stood at the start line and listened to their instructions.
Okay. And I think I'm curious, like on a race, like an ultra marathon or running 100 miles, like, is it ironic or dumb to like warm up? Like, do you jog before you run that?
So I did not warm up. I did not stretch ahead of time.
No stretch.
No, I mean, I was moving around. So just like unloading the car and walking to the...
Lifting heavy objects, exhausting yourself.
I was awake, but I was just sitting in the car sipping on coffee. I had a lot of time to warm up and get loose as it unfolded.
Okay. Do you think the mental prep is more important than the physical prep?
In terms of like the morning of?
Yeah. Not like, I guess, like months.
You should train for this thing. I should tell you that.
And I do want to get there eventually, but kind of work.
No, I don't think... I think what you do during training for the preseason or whatever you want to call that, during that training time, you should probably do that. So on my normal Friday long run, I would play PlayStation in the morning from 9 to 10. Then I would change in my running clothes, drive to the trailhead, and start jogging.
Okay.
So
that was long-term prep, though.
Yeah, but so that's what practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes permanent. So how you practice becomes how things work for you. And so in general, it's not a good idea to try new things on race day. So I would say if you normally do a 5-minute warm up and stretch before your long runs, you should do that on race day.
Be consistent.
But if your normal training is, all right, we're just going to kind of jog for a couple miles, get loose, and then we'll find our pace, then just do that.
Okay.
That's what I did.
Okay.
That's what most people did. I didn't see anybody warming. Like I didn't see anybody jogging or doing strides or
sprints,
leg swings, or for like a track and field event for sure. Even a 5K. Yeah, I think that's really important.
Yeah,
but the intensity level, this is a different kind of animal.
5K is a sprint compared to.
Oh, for sure, exactly.
You also said there was some crazy pre-start stuff that.
Well, they just give you the instructions of what to know.
Well, you said you had a story, like something that happened.
Oh no, I was just I wanted to make sure I said on the record that Charlotte forgot the table.
Oh,
and it was just a great moment of like, "Okay, you set the table," and she's like, "Oh no!" I was like, so my this giant event that I've been training for months for, that I'm everything's packed, everything's ready, it's all dialed in. We get there, and the first thing was like, that's not a good start. This is a long day. We don't have a lot of margin for oh no. And that was the first moment was, I guess we could just put everything on the wet grass or.
So you figured out
it was great.
Picnic table.
It was my responsibility too, not Charlotte's, but it was just funny to blame her.
But obviously, you got your stuff set out. You had the food, rations.
Yeah, rations. Good word for it.
Water, I guess, and
they provided water.
Okay,
but I provided most of my food and then electrolyte drinks and things like that.
It was falling from the sky too, early in the morning. So how were you feeling after the first? Well, or call it the warm up, the 6 mile.
Yeah, I felt great, just getting loose. It was a little cold and wet. I was glad I had my rain jacket on. Great conversation with Mike. Enjoyed being out there. It was real quiet. So these 40 people within 2 miles were pretty spread out. So you didn't even hear anybody else's conversation.
And you're not like, are other racers like talking to each other, or is it normally just like you're pretty like
most people are in their own heads? People are very, I think trail running and ultra marathon people are very encouraging to each other. Like even at the elite level, like 1 and 2 20 miles into a race are going to be like, hey, you doing okay over there? Like people are real positive.
Okay, but it's not like
It's
part
like,
of the
hey, where are you
culture.
from?
Yeah.
Like, all right, what kind of shoes are those?
You guys are just running tandem like for all 50 or like 50% of it.
I think some people do that. I tend to be a little more in my own head, and this one was very quiet out there. It was 6 a.m. on a Saturday. Like I don't want to talk to anybody.
Yeah,
Just in normal like
normal life, let alone 6 in the morning.
So yeah, it was pretty quiet. Nobody was real, like nobody's doing cartwheels, nobody's like running in a costume or anything. It was a pretty chill event.
No gimmicks. Like
Yeah, there was no shticks out there. It was just kind of put your head down and do what you came to do.
Okay, so you're feeling good, and then first lap,
first full loop, ran 10 miles with Kevin. Same thing, real chill. If the hill got steep enough, we'd kind of walk or power hike up that. Otherwise, we're just jogging, talking about life.
so you weren't running the whole time?
No, so if it was a steep enough hill, we'd walk it. So I'm pulling up some times here. So yeah, so mile like 10, 11, 12. I was doing about a 12-minute mile, 11-minute mile, 12-minute mile. So that includes walking up the hills. So it's just kind of a nice little controlled jog, nothing too intense.
Yeah. Okay. So very, very paced from like you knew when to keep a steady pace, rest your body by walking at certain sections.
It's inefficient to run uphill. So when you run, like the difference between running and walking, for example, is when you run, your feet are both off the ground at some point. Mm-hmm. So like what is that? Walk racing? They have like the Olympics where people like wiggle and they walk real funny.
Yeah.
Like there's like monitors to make sure you have one foot on the ground the whole time. Otherwise you're technically running. So one like biomechanical difference between running and walking is when you run, you're getting up in the air so that as you go forward, you're able to sort of glide through the air. If that makes sense?
Yeah. So you have to be elevated off ground.
So that when your whole body is off the ground and moving through the air, the energy you put into more or less like jumping up and forward, that energy, it pays dividends because you're able to glide through the air farther. Mm-hmm. But if you're going up a hill, you just kind of picture a slope, and if you're this runner guy, you jump up and you go into the hill, you don't glide forward.
Yeah, or it takes that much more effort to.
Yeah, so you have to leap to go up, and so just sort of mathematically, it's really inefficient to run uphill. Now, if it's a 5K, you accept those inefficiencies because the race is going to be over soon.
Because you really are the time really matters because it's full race.
But if you're out there for hours and hours and hours, those little inefficiencies will ruin your day.
So you were doing this statistically logical.
Well, yeah, and I would say like if you watch some of the top ultra marathoners in the world, even if there's a hill in the first half mile, they're going to walk it. Mm-hmm. Like the people who are the very best in the world, they're not just walking the hill at the end of the race. Mm-hmm. If the hill meets a certain grade, it is irresponsible to try to run it. It's gonna hurt your race goals. So walking up the hills and jogging the rest. First loop, feel great. Just chugging away, in control. Mm-hmm. I'm drinking a bottle of water, I'm not sure how many. It's probably a little more. Maybe it's a liter. It might be a liter.
It's a decent sized water bottle.
Yeah, it's probably pretty close to a liter. If you like a cycling water bottle,
it's the one where you can squeeze.
Yeah, like you've seen. Like what the athletes use in a sports game, like the green Gatorade bottle. Yeah, Gatorade bottle. The equipment manager squeezes.
It's not like a Hydro Flask. You're taking the lid off.
So it's not a 40 giant 40-ounce thing like this, but it's also not like the Costco disposable 12-ounce. So like a liter.
Okay.
So I've got one of those in my hand, and so I fill that up at the start-stop aid station, and then 5 miles, about halfway into the loop, there's a spot to refill it. So usually by the time I got there, I would drink about a third to a half of it because I was always nervous that there wouldn't be water there.
Of your bottle,
yeah,
right?
my water bottle. Yeah,
the fill station.
No, I drink about a third to a half of my handheld, and then when I got to that halfway spot, I would fill that all the way up, and then in the second half of the loop, I would drink that whole thing because I knew for sure there'd be water at the start-stop. So I drink about 1.5 liters every 10 miles.
1.5 liters every time. Okay. Just trying to
so 1.25 liters
every
So picture a 2-liter bottle of Mountain Dew. I would drink that every 2 loops.
And if you've got, especially on this like first lap or two, you're running like a 10, 11 minute.
11 minute pace, 12 minute pace.
So every, hour to about 2 hours.
Yep. So
okay.
my pattern was every half mile I would take a drink of water.
Okay.
Whether I wanted to or not, every half mile I would take a drink.
Because that
more than a sip, less than like 2 gulps, but like a mouthful of water every half mile.
Okay. So after that first lap, about 15, 16 miles in, you get back to your home base.
Charlotte's there.
Still feeling great.
Yeah, feeling great. I think at that point, maybe I took my rain jacket off. I had a loop by myself, so I put my headphones in.
What were you? What do you?
Maybe
listen?
that was later. Maybe that loop I didn't have headphones actually.
I don't think you.
No, I don't think I did. It must have been
you.
my second. I did a couple loops by myself.
So purely just mind games.
I was just enjoying the quiet, listening to the birds,
enjoying just
thinking about kind of managing the race. So it's sort of. There's a lot of mental energy. There's times to zone out, but there's a lot of times just to say, okay, how am I feeling on salt and sugar and water? Is that a pebble in my shoe? How is this pace? What's the next kind of mile marker I'm looking towards? Is that hill one I want to walk or jog?
So really just all you're thinking about at this point is just the rate, the run itself.
Executing, kind of constantly assessing.
So you're not, I don't know, your mind hasn't wandered too deeply into like the meanings of life.
No, nothing existential. I would say during my training, there's just tons of hours to get ready for this. I thought a lot more about bigger things or real life things, but this was kind of like, it's go time, focus on what we came here to do, and just keep your head in the game.
So it's about the race. This is your priority. I mean, because that's what you've been training for. So
I picture like a pilot in a cockpit that has all these gauges and just like, okay, that one looks good. Okay, that one looks good. That one looks good. How are we doing on wind speed? All right, are we on course?
Yeah.
So just kind of constantly assessing as much information that's going to be helpful as I could.
Okay, and you also said during that second lap, I don't know what is it, like 15 to 20 something.
Yeah.
You were talking about sugar and salt.
Yeah. There's a saying that goes something like, ultra marathons are really just an eating and drinking competition with a little running mixed in. And that's really true. So it is you got to train, you got to be physically able to do some of this stuff, obviously, but most of the day's battle is about getting calories and fluid in, because your body is kind of I'll describe it like this, and scientists out there, you can correct me and tell me where I'm wrong, but basically I think about it like this. This is my simple way of describing it. Like, your body has a limited supply of energy, and it's a zero-sum game. So if energy goes to one system, it's taking it away from another system. So when you're running, there is blood flowing to your legs and muscles to, make the muscles fire and to process the acid that comes out of that. So part of the energy is going to your muscles to move you forward. Also, because your body gets warm when it exercises, part of your blood flow is going to cool this engine. So whether that's sweat and things like that, or just kind of the blood flowing towards the surface of the skin so that you can radiate heat off. So some energy goes to your legs, and the more that's going to your legs, the less it's cooling your system, which means you could overheat, or you could slow down and your body can cool off.
Yeah.
And then there's a third factor. There's more than this, but a third factor is digestion. So when your body digests, it's sending energy to your stomach to process the food or the liquid or whatever.
So it takes energy to receive energy.
Yep. So your body, so your body can either like full engines forward, or it can be full energy to cooling down, or we need to get food in us. So we can't cool the body or move forward. Like, it just sounds obvious. You're going to digest easier sitting still than sprinting. Like, you can't digest a cheeseburger while you're sprinting.
So what about jogging?
Exactly. So much of ultramarathon is just this fine balance of how much, because you need, your body cannot process as many calories as you use while you're running. So you're always going to fall behind. So you could eat all day long, but if you're running, you're just trying to like slow the bleeding. You're trying to lose calories slower.
So
because you're going to lose calories.
You cannot run forever because your body will.
Exactly. Yeah, okay. You can't infinitely run and just keep eating like a plane refueling in the air.
Yeah.
You can't infinitely refuel because it costs more energy to go forward than your body's able to digest at a given time.
Gotcha.
So the dance is, how fast can I go and still be able to maintain calories coming in before like it stops taking calories?
So I feel like that's where the real game
exactly.
comes in.
And it's how many calories can I get in and still keep moving forward at a pace that is sustainable.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of that constant assessment. And then you're listening to your body. Like I say, am I sweating off more salt and burning through more sugar? And the way your body burns energy, if you sprint, you're going to burn certain fuel reserves in your body, like glycogen and sugar that's quickly available. Mm-hmm. If you run slower or exercise at a lower heart rate, you're going to burn like your fat stores. And fat burns way slower than sugar. And even the skinniest person you've ever met probably has days of fat worth of energy in their body. And so most people, I think, train too fast in their normal life, and they burn through that sugar, and then they feel so tired. But part of ultramarathon is teaching your body to train at a low enough intensity that it can reach for this infinite reserve of fat calories compared to sugar calories.
So if I'm
sorry, this is so boring.
No. I like, maybe I'm hearing it wrong, but like, so then would it be good to have fat on you when running?
That's my point. So picture like the skinniest Ethiopian ultramarathoner you've ever seen.
Yeah.
He's got enough body fat to run for 2 days straight.
Okay.
So fat is so dense that it's not about what we as Americans maybe think is obesity fat. It's more just kind of like I'm talking about the material itself and what your body has. That fuel resource burns so richly and for so long. So the skinniest person has all the fat reserves they need for this.
Okay, but so you don't need to be like 500 pounds to be
right. No, and so but even there's a certain sense of it's this balance, because if you're too heavy, now weight is against you. So that whole calculation of energy to go up and energy to go forward, now gravity and mass are really working against you.
Yeah.
But if you're too skinny, maybe you can't. You don't have enough reserves and energy.
Okay.
So there's a certain what is your body's natural weight, and if you're too heavy, you've got reserves, but it's too much resistance. And if you're too skinny, you might have all the lightness in the world, but you don't have the energy to propel you along. So it's so much juggling and balancing, and that's why I say, on these loops, I'm just looking at all the dials and trying to assess and internally take stock of as much as I can.
Okay, and I do want to get back to the race you're like quarter the way through, but in the subject of food, how did you eat to prepare for this? Because I don't know, there's the cliche like carb up, beer and pasta before a big race. I don't know.
So my approach for the race was don't do anything different than I normally do. So I ate normal food. I probably ate a little more in the couple days leading up to it,
just to load up on calories.
Just calories. So it wasn't. I mean, I think I ate. I think we had a taco bar either the night before or 2 nights before. And then the other one, we had a pasta dish. But that's kind of normal fare at our house. So it wasn't like, all right, it's the race, so I have to eat pasta.
We're just eating
I eat pasta probably twice a week as it is, which is kind of how, so again, it's being consistent with how I train, so there weren't unknown variables. It's not like, I haven't had sushi for 10 years. Let's do that before the race. That's not a good idea. Other people,
not what your body's used to.
People love sushi and they eat it during the race. But I
feel like that's a good run food.
So it's kind of don't throw your body a curveball.
Okay, so you weren't gorging yourself before, so you had ample energy.
Not any more than normal. So if Friday is my long run during training, most Thursdays I'd probably have a pretty big dinner and a pretty big breakfast anyway.
Okay, but it wasn't anything that you weren't used to.
I didn't eat myself into a stupor with just like this enormous novelty
that's what, like,
plate of
hitting
pasta.
the buffet before, like
Michael Scott. I've never eaten so much pasta in so little time before the 5K. There you go, Shane.
There's a
You're
Daily
welcome.
Office reference,
You're
or whatever.
welcome.
What is that? What? Okay. So, all right. So you finish your, you're in your 20 miles. You just finish your second lap.
Yeah.
So you're like 25, 24, whatever,
Yeah.
something like that. Into this. So Lauren and I signed up to run with you on your third lap.
It's like 9 o'clock in the morning, something like that. I don't remember. 10.
I think it was like, I think 11 actually, or 10 or 11.
Okay.
It was like just before lunch. Yeah. And so I don't know, for us, we knew like we'd be joining you just after you had finished, or right at around the same time you ran a marathon.
Yeah, my first marathon. That's when you hopped in.
Yeah. So it just blows my mind. All right. So you've already ran about a quarter of this and a marathon's worth, and we join with you as two pacers.
Yeah.
So
pacer is somebody who gets to run alongside the runner. Sometimes it's to help set the pace. Sometimes it's to encourage. Typically, pacers are not allowed to carry anything for their runner. That would be called a mule. So some races, muling is allowed. Other races, it's not. So this one, no mules allowed.
I almost it's got trying to disqualify you.
Yeah, because I carry that for you. Nope. Thanks for the offer.
I don't know. Like I don't know if I've ever been a real pacer before. Like my experiences of running cross country, I was like so far behind in the group. Like I never had to worry about the pacer. Like that wasn't
the rabbit out front that's upsetting.
Yeah, like the thing, person, vehicle, bike up front. That's like that's follow this to keep track. Like that was never a thing. Like no, especially in sprinting. There's no pacer in that. But so like I don't know. Just I think Lauren and I just like felt like we're running with you. Like, what do we do to help? Can we help? What does that even mean?
So you signed up for this thing not knowing your duties. You just came out because I was like, hey, you want to come out?
Running with you? Like, and so like, yeah, well, I guess I will keep you alive, make sure you're alive. Like, I don't know, fend off a bear if it comes after you. And
to me, the pacer is like, it's just camaraderie. It's distraction at times. It's helping ask the right questions. It's just keeping you company. So I'm curious, Shane. I come in at a marathon and you and Lauren are like ready to go. Did I look worse than you were expecting? Better? What was your impression of? Oh, there's Dan. He's doing this. What?
You looked great. Like I mean, like
because I didn't the whole day, so I was curious what did it look like at that point.
No, honestly, like it looked like you could have just ran a few miles and just came back. Like
nice.
Nothing was. There wasn't a death to your eyes. There wasn't a.
Not yet, anyway.
Not yet. Like you looked in great health. So like we had no idea like we were gonna join you. Like we saw the tent, the home base area. Like, I guess we'll just wait here. And you were way ahead of schedule because we were supposed to start.
Yeah, probably 15 or 25 minutes maybe at that point.
It was like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, and so like luckily we wanted to make sure we got there early for whatever reason. I'm glad we did. And that's where I felt like all right, we're about to run 9 point whatever miles. Like, do we warm up and stuff?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
That's when we were going through that dilemma.
Did you?
And so, we did a little like some like active stretches and high knees and whatever. So yeah, you got to your tent and I think you like swapped shoes maybe.
At one point I changed my shoes.
Maybe it was that, but you I don't know. You grabbed some snacks, had your water, and just before like heading back out, there was like a food.
Oh yeah,
you grabbed a breakfast burrito.
It was such a good breakfast burrito.
And was that like the first meal you had during the run? That wasn't like a high calorie like slurp snack or a granola bar.
Yeah, I think that was my second breakfast burrito. I had one right on the previous loop as well.
Okay,
so
one breakfast burrito per lap.
Yeah, so I was eating. So my water bottle had about 200 calories in it of kind of electrolytes and sugar and stuff like that.
Like poured into
a mix.
Okay.
So when I got back to my tent between each loop, I ate like a squeezy applesauce. And I would grab like fig bars from Costco or a Cliff Bar, or like a gel, like those little kind of tubes of snot.
Yeah.
So gross.
Just high calorie.
Yeah, just high calorie sugar, water stuff. So I would try to eat 200 calories with my water, and then another, maybe 300 calories every lap. And so, first couple laps, I had a breakfast burrito. Mm-hmm. After that, it got a lot harder to eat.
Like just your body.
Yeah, nothing sounded good. And what about this? I'm like, no, that makes me want to throw up. I don't want to think about it.
So you knew you needed the calories, but
yeah. So in some ways, that's kind of the beginning of the end. Was after lap 3 or 4, realizing I know I need to eat more, but nothing wants to go in.
So if your body isn't going to take it, then you're not in a good spot to.
Yeah. So I was still drinking, and I was still getting calories through that.
Did you at least want water? Even if you were
so I was on top of fluid. So I would say I drank 1.5 liters every 10 miles. Mm-hmm. But I'm still sweating, going to the bathroom. Mm-hmm. So my Garmin had data afterwards. It estimated that I sweat 7.2 liters of water, which I think a liter is 2 pounds. Or maybe it's at least a pound.
I mean, either way, to visualize sweat in liters is insane.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So fluids, I did okay, but calories started to get harder after that second breakfast burrito. But I remember that was amazing.
When you had that burrito, you seemed just elate. It was oh, this is amazing. This is
so I have several retrospective reflections.
Yeah.
So they had a menu at this tent they were cooking for us.
Oh, so gourmet. Huh?
Well, I mean, meaning from 6 a.m. until 11, we're making breakfast burritos. From 11 to 12, we're making hot dogs and cheeseburgers. From 2 to 5, we're gonna make pizza, or whatever. I think they would have made other food, but whatever that main item was, the hot and ready, just grab it and go.
Yeah.
So the breakfast burritos were amazing. When it got time to burgers and hot dogs and pizza, I couldn't even think about it. And normally those things sound great to me.
Yeah.
Oftentimes on a Friday, I'll run 20 miles. I'll go back. I'll eat an entire frozen pizza by myself. It's so good.
Yeah.
And I've earned every bit of it.
But you're also not in the middle of running.
Right.
Too.
But even there, while I'm running, it sounds good. I'm looking forward to the pizza.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, this is great. That's what I eat after my run. I know what it feels like to hunger for that while I'm running. Yeah. But on this day, it was no, not even, that sounds horrible. Charlotte got me a slice. And I ate one nibble. And it's I can't.
Just your body would not.
So there's some unpredictability of, if you Google ultramarathons, people are going to talk about stomach issues, just meaning it's really unpredictable what's going to sound good and go down and be digestible.
Yeah.
Given all the factors of the day.
Jeez. Okay. So you said it is a fuel game, and just food is part of that. But so in the running, we join you with that. Lauren and I wanted to we did not want to be dead weight, so we made sure to train. So okay, can we do this? Can we set the pace? We were also training up and down the hill from Redondo, because you were warning us about the elevation. I mean, compared to the hill, I think we were we were good. Yeah. So we were able to run with you, walk up those hills, and just have casual banter. And it was just in the middle of the run. I think you started to I don't know if the switch flipped there, but you just were I'm going to be honest, guys. I don't feel good.
I don't remember that.
I'm sure there was a lot of those moments.
It's a long day.
But I was at least for me, as a pacer, I just wanted, I think we wanted to encourage you. And so, I remember it was just all right, what's something we can celebrate, in the middle of this? You just ran a marathon,
and you were with me for the 50-kilometer mark, too. So 31 miles.
31. So, 31.
So but then 50K.
But for me, I think my celebratory spot was 33.33.
Yeah.
So we're a third. You are a third of the way through this race.
That was a good moment.
So to mock you, I did a cartwheel and everyone else running
on the really hilly, awful section of the course.
Well, I couldn't wait after.
No, I know. I just meant that was the part of the course where I just began to dread it. Knowing that it was coming.
Yeah, that's also me. In the very end of the loop, that direction you go is the steepest hill ever. Why would they do this?
Awful.
So and it was really fun too. In the middle of that run, when some big straightaway, I just remember seeing somebody waving at us.
Waving, dancing. What are they doing?
It's just
trying to get our attention.
Gonna ignore this crazy person who's just trying to solicit to us.
And it turns out it's a member from church, Howard Britt.
And I was wait, what?
Hi, Howard.
Those are the last thing I think we were expecting. So you had a group of 3 pacers with you at a time and place.
That was a great highlight just to have Howard. He was with us for, I don't know, 4 miles maybe.
5 or 4.
It was a good chunk.
Yeah.
But that was part of, so I had a couple other people with me, but throughout the day, multiple people saw me and they're like, you've got a lot of people with you. Like in a, not like, what are you doing? But like, that's really cool. Like you've got people.
Yeah. It wasn't like oh, he needs all these people.
And
like,
it wasn't like jealous, like I wish I had friends. But it was kind of like, wow, like that's awesome. Like you've got people who showed up for you.
Yeah.
Like that kind of, I was like, yeah, that is cool. Cause I mentioned you alternate directions. So we're going clockwise and counterclockwise. So you're passing like people over and over again. Not like passing them, going by them, but you're coming towards them.
Yeah.
You're crossing
paths often.
So which means I saw the same people all day long.
Yeah.
And every time they would see me, I'd be with somebody else who's like, I did a different pacer every time they saw me. They're like, what the heck? I just saw you with this tall guy. Now you're with this kid. Now you're with this couple. Now you've got a whole entourage of people. Like,
yeah.
It was almost like, who are you? Like, how did you, it was just, I feel really loved and supported. So that was cool.
Were there people you saw who had just nobody?
Oh yeah. Most people had nobody.
Oh wow.
Near the end, more people had one person. Like they could trick one person into coming out with them.
Near like the latter half of this,
yeah. And at that point, like people were kind of zombies, and it was like a safety concern. You need to have somebody with you
in case you collapse.
Yeah, or you might just have a hallucination and wander off into the woods.
My goodness.
I never had any hallucinations, but that's a pretty normal thing in ultra marathons. Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. What does a hallucination entail?
So my first time I even thought about a 100-mile race, I was living in Omaha, and a friend of mine invited me to this panel discussion for people who'd done 100-milers. And it was like a pretty good person, and whatever, then like some like super heavy set guy. And he's like, I know why I'm here. But one of the first questions was, all right, panelists, thanks for being here. Would you mind telling us about some of your hallucinations? And they were like, oh yeah. And I was like, wait, what? What? That's a thing? And like, they all had different stories of, they're asking their pacers, like, is that group of children in the woods waving at us, are they really there or not?
Oh my, like vivid.
Yeah, like auditory, visual.
Not just like I'm seeing colors flash.
It's like, do you hear circus music? Like, is that happening? Or like, is that pizza in that tree? Like very specific. So that never happened for me.
Okay.
But that's one of the reasons people have pacers, is just like, I need a rational person with me because my body's shutting down.
That is insane. An insane level of. Okay, so all right. Hallucinations aside, Lauren and I and Howard, we finished the lap with you. This past the 33 mark. You begin again, I think, with
Micah might have been
Mike.
next. Yeah, my son, my 12-year-old son Micah, he did a 10-mile loop with me.
Yeah, and
so yeah, we're
I'm not expecting the full detail maybe of every lap, but like I want to see the progression.
Yeah. So that was so if I did 3 full laps already, plus that, so it'd be like 36 miles. So I must have had Micah from like 36 to 45.
Okay.
And so at that point, like, it's starting to get hard. I'm behind on calories.
You were well ahead on pace, though.
Yeah, so
I don't know if that's good or bad.
I was still, I think, 15, 20 minutes ahead of where I thought it'd be. And with my lap, my 10-mile run with Micah, I maintained that. But all of a sudden, it felt like effort to maintain that. Whereas the first 40 miles, like, I'm just cruising. And really, the first 40 miles, my intention was to, like, I had to slow myself down. Yeah. I knew I could run faster. I need to really limit how much energy I'm putting into it. And so mentally, physically, I'm saying, okay, take it easy, just pace yourself.
Still got plenty. Yeah.
So then in this loop with Micah, that kind of transitioned to, I gotta hit my times now.
Oh, you were
so rather than trying to slow down, I was consciously like, okay, I don't have to like hurry. I'm not rushing, but
yeah,
if I don't pay attention, I'm going to fall off the pace a little bit. So
Okay.
I was aware of my pace and I was hitting it. So I didn't really lose any time on that lap with Micah. I was getting tired though, and I told him, I said, "Hey buddy, I don't have a whole lot to say right now. I'm tired." Because I've been awake since 4 a.m, and at that point, I don't know, it was like 2 p.m. or something like that.
And as we've talked about before, you've never pulled in all night.
No, I don't do all nighters. I go to bed at 10 o'clock. So I'm getting tired, just alertness wise, and I've been running for 45 miles. So I'm like, all right, buddy, I'm sorry for, I don't have a lot to say. Everything's fine. And he's like, oh, I don't mind the silence. He's encouraging, and and the rest of my family's driving around. They're honking. They've got signs, and they're really encouraging.
Like tandem with you on the road.
So they'd see me, I'd go by, then they'd drive, whatever, half a mile ahead. And so that was really fun. So getting tired, slowing down.
So then how did you feel, I guess, at that halfway mark?
So it was either right before I left with my loop with Micah or right after, where I had some kind of like repair on my feet. So blisters were getting pretty bad.
Oh my goodness!
So Charlotte put some moleskin on some of those and tape.
Moleskin?
It's just like a
skin graft.
it's like a fuzzy Band-Aid to keep blisters from getting worse.
Oh,
it's hard to describe.
And this technology exists.
Yeah. So my feet are hurting at this point, more than my muscles, more than my legs.
That's the pain.
I'm feeling hungry. I'm getting a little fatigued, but my toes are just kind of shredded.
Oh man. Okay.
So
did you have a change of shoes and socks?
I had shoes and socks, but at some point I got nervous. Like, I don't want to take these off because I don't know what it's going to be. I'm not sure I can get another pair back on.
Yeah. Oh.
So after that loop with Micah, I remember it was at mile like 50 and 52, I think, when a couple blisters popped.
Oh, you remember the moment.
Yeah, so I had a blister underneath my big toe towards my foot, and I felt it getting bigger. I felt it getting bigger, and like on a step, just like this searing explosion. I know right where I was on the course. I can picture it now.
Did it keep going?
It hurt so bad. It was like it was the weirdest thing in the world. It was this burning pain, like this like physical pop. Like I felt the pressure relief, and it stung like the dickens for about 5 minutes of just wincing, and then it felt so much better. And
so
then
the pressure was alleviated.
Yeah. So then 2 miles later, the same thing happened on the other foot. It's like, oh, there it is, and it just wincing,
and you just keep plowing through.
Just keep going. And so then at that point, I was like, I don't know what that's going to be like. I can't take these off at this point.
So you committed to whatever was on your feet. That's
forward at this point.
You will die in those shoes.
So ran with you to whatever mile. What was you say, 36 or so?
30 something.
Micah to 45, and then my wife Charlotte drove Micah home. Mm-hmm. And then Charlotte came back to run a loop with me.
So you ran a loop?
So I ran one loop by myself there.
Okay.
So I ran...
and is that when the blister popped?
So yeah, that's when the blister went. That's when...
I don't know if that was good or bad. You were by yourself at that point.
The fact that the blisters popped was amazing. That was... So if I'm doing this again, I'm proactively popping blisters immediately.
Oh my
with
goodness.
Something. Like, some kind of sterile tool.
That's a process. And
so yeah, but at that point, like every step hurts.
And so much your feet are killing you.
So between blisters, that's a main part of it. Multiple blisters on both feet, but also it's a really gravelly, rocky course. Like, we weren't running on dirt for most of it. It was
pavement.
Yeah, it was hard. Mm-hmm. So every step, like, my feet felt bruised.
Yeah.
So just every step hurt. So one stat for the end of by the time this was all done, it was 180,000 steps.
Just unfathomable.
So 180,000 steps, and probably the last 90,000 of them hurt so bad. Like, every single step hurt.
There was no like this like.
The first 40,000 steps, I didn't even notice. I'm talking, I'm laughing, looking at the birds and the trees, and it's great. But the final 90,000 steps, I felt every one of them.
Oh, goodness. So your feet exploded.
Yeah.
Charlotte joins
me, and so we're I'm feeling tired, feeling slow, feeling low on energy.
And you're still even though fluids going in, you're still eating something.
Yeah, I'm kind of nibbling on stuff, although not nearly enough, and I know it, and Charlotte knows it.
Yeah.
Still jogging the flats and the downhills, walking the uphill, starting to walk them a little sooner rather than like kind of take a running start into the hill.
It's still an intentional pace.
Yeah.
It's not just like I'm going to walk forever.
Yep. So that loop with Charlotte, I probably, I had built up like a 20-minute cushion for my goal time, and I probably lost 5 or 6 of those minutes. Mm-hmm. Halfway through my loop with Charlotte, a friend of mine, Lance, came out. And so for the final 5 miles of that loop, it was Charlotte and Lance and me. So just kind of my entourage continues.
Yeah.
So
continue to have that posse with you.
Yep. So we finished those free 4 miles. I dropped Charlotte off. It's night at this point. So
it's still like gray.
Yeah, it's like 7:30 or so, maybe closer to 8. It's evening.
It's cold and damp.
Yep.
So,
yeah.
okay.
So at that point, I say bye to Charlotte. I put my headlight on, refill my water bottle, and then Lance and I head out. Mm-hmm. And this 10-mile loop was tough. We're probably close to miles 60. This is probably like miles 65 to 75, somewhere in there.
Okay.
And it's hard. I'm looking at my watch. I see my margin. I'm back to even. So I was 20 minutes ahead, and then I was 15 minutes ahead, and now I'm even.
Okay.
And I'm like, this is hard.
So it's quickly moving back.
Yeah.
Like
So it's going quickly. So
okay.
Whatever. The first 30 miles. All right, take it easy. Just slow down. You got a long day. And then there was one loop where it was like, okay, this is work, but I got it. And now it's like, this is work, and I don't know if I can do this pace. Yeah. So it's getting harder. It's dark. We're just the two of us. It's great conversation though. We're talking about life and faith and all kinds of stuff.
So not just running,
right? And a lot of running. He's a high school coach, so the state championship had just happened. So he's telling me all of his times and his team and how they all did.
It's good stories.
Yeah, so it was good distraction. But the hills are getting harder. This is where if I had a do-over, I would have brought my hiking poles with me. I had him with me. I had him with me, but I didn't bring him with me on that loop.
On that one.
So I think having poles would have taken some of the impact off my feet and spread out some of the labor. Yeah, help my upper body carry some of the load.
Mm-hmm. And that's legal and
yeah.
Okay.
So I should have done that, and I didn't. So Lance and I are going, and we're starting to slow down on pace. Mm-hmm. He's out there. I don't know what time it is. It's probably 11:40
at night.
Yeah, at night. So it's nighttime.
And dark.
It's absolutely dark. We're in the middle of the woods. It's just our 2 headlights is the only thing there is. But his wife's calling him like, "Hey, when are you going to be home?" and I remember throughout this loop, it kind of kept progressing. Like, yeah, it'll probably be this time. And then she called like half later. He's like, actually, it might be a little bit later. And then she go half hour later. She's like, actually, kind of how we're going now, it's going to be a little bit later. And I'm just like, oh gosh.
So you're feeling guilty. You're feeling painful.
And I just, and hearing him describe and he's super gracious and she's super gracious, but hearing him describe when he's going to get home getting later was just another reinforcement of like, this guy's slowing down. Like, he didn't say it, but he's like, Dan's not in a good spot right now, and we're not picking up any speed.
You're not gonna find that burst of energy.
Right. So it was just this weird like out of body experience of like, this guy's really slowing down. I'm like, I know.
Oh, no. So were you like walking at this point?
Walking the uphills.
Having some kind of trot?
No, we're still jogging the downhills and the flats.
Okay.
But it feels like work.
Yeah.
Like in my head, I'm running, but on my pace, it's like a 13-minute mile.
Yeah.
Which is not nothing.
Yeah.
But in in terms of perceived effort versus kind of objective measurement, it was out of whack. Like I was working way hard to go that slow.
And at what point of the 100 miles is that?
So we're probably 68, kind of 72, 73 miles in.
Okay. And so
I'm almost to my 3rd marathon. And I'm almost like 3/4 of the way done.
Okay. So you're approaching 60. Yeah. Yeah. So we finish your lap.
We finish our loop with Lance, and then Daryl, kind of my closer, comes out. Daryl is a head coach at Federal Way Track Club. I've been running with him for years. Just a delightful man. Really, really dear friend. Mentioned him on our last episode as I've been reflecting on friendship, which we'll see if we have time to talk about here or not. So Lance hands me off to Daryl. Daryl has paced people for these kind of events before.
He's a runner.
He's a great runner. He's done Boston Marathon, and he just finished a couple days at the state championship coaching his team, and a lot of former athletes through our track club. And so he was at that track event for a couple days. He went home, slept for like an hour and a half, and then he came out to join me from basically. He was kind of on from like 11 a.m. or 11 p.m. till like 6 a.m. He was in it for all night as needed.
So he was, wow.
Which is incredible. Just like I didn't even like ask him to. He was like, "How can I help? What do you need? Where can I be there?" And he knew intuitively and from history of when I was going to be at my worst and would need some like really important informed counsel. Like if you and Lauren were there, it would have probably scared you of like, we don't know what to do.
Yeah,
and he knew that, so he knew what to do, and so he signed up for the hard shift that nobody would want.
Oh, we knew. We did not. We did not want. We would have no. Did we make fun of you at this point? What do we do?
Might have been better. I don't know. So Daryl and I are going, and the way this loop starts. So I'm on loop. We're doing loop 7 of 10. So I did the pre warm up loop, and I've completed 6 full loops. Yeah, so we must be at mile 66 or something like that.
Yeah.
So I'm on starting loop 7 of 10. So I have to go counterclockwise, clockwise, and counterclockwise, and I'm done. And the way this loop starts is with that horrendous downhill.
So you're going downhill.
So we're going downhill. The worst hill on the thing.
That's got to be terrible on the feet.
It hurt my feet. It hurt my quads, like your kind of thigh muscles. Like every step
you just
roll down. Exactly. Every step was so hard. And so I'm like,
do you have the hiking poles?
No, I should have. I was not thinking. I
can't imagine.
Thinking. I'm not at a good spot. I should have. I didn't. So I'm walking down that hill because it hurts so bad.
Yeah.
After that, I start jogging. At least in my head, I'm jogging. Like I'm physically jogging. My arms are moving. My feet are up in the air.
Yeah.
And I'm breathing. I'm running. What feels like max effort, and I look over and Daryl's walking. It was one of the most crushing moments of the day.
No,
like he could have pretended, but it wouldn't have helped. Like
he just was casually.
He was just casually walking, and I was in all out mode. Just like I'm huffing, I'm puffing, I'm wincing. I'm gritting my teeth. Like I've got all my resolve into it, and he's just out for an evening stroll with his headlight on.
Oh no! And that's like early on.
Yeah, that's like a half mile in. That's where we're at.
Oh no!
And going this direction. So the way this course is laid out is, it's a hilly course, but the direction Daryl and I are going first, we do the big hills for the first part. And then it gets a little bit flatter towards the end, and so it's just like a punch in the nose immediately. Like I'm already tired, and then it's just these daunting hills that I'm walking the uphill because that's what I've been doing all day. That's what I got to do. But then I get to the top, and like it hurts to jog downhill. It hurts my legs, it hurts my knees, it hurts my feet. Like everything hurts.
Yeah. So
I'm kind of shuffle jogging on the downhill and walking the uphills. And then I get to a spot where all right, I got to stop and breathe. Like I can't catch my breath. I'm tired.
Yeah.
So I stop for 10 seconds, put my hands on my knees. Like, all right, let me walk for a minute and then jog for a minute. And then it's like, hold on, I got to put my hands on my knees. I'm tired.
You just stop.
Yeah. So just a couple of seconds here or there. I'm stopping like, all right, let's regroup. Let's get this. And he's great. He's encouraging me. He's like, all right, I need you to get more. He's direct with me. Like, Dan, you got to eat more. I need to see more calories going into you.
Oh, that's so nice to.
Yeah, he was awesome.
He's not just like, oh, I gotta go.
No, he's awesome. He's all right. What do you need? How can I help? How are your calories? Are you drinking enough? And so he's awesome.
Yeah.
But I'm getting tireder and tireder, like physically, but Like,
what, it's like
just
yeah,
alertness.
It's like 12 at this point.
Yeah, so no, we're after 1 in the morning. 1 in the morning, and we're shuffling along, and we both got our headlights on. It's the only lights around. We're talking about life and track and all kinds of great things. And at one point, he looks back at me, and he goes, "Is my headlight too bright?" And I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, every time I look back, you're squinting." I go, "It's because I'm sleeping." And I was just my eyes were closed, and I was just running in the woods with my eyes closed, and kind of like listening to him talk, or like the sound of his feet. Yeah, I'm just kind of like genuinely following that sound.
Yeah.
And just like running in the dark with my eyes closed. I was like, that's kind of scary. And I was like, and I thought like, maybe I'll just put like my arm on his shoulder, and I don't have to worry about going off into the woods, and I can just kind of shuffle along. And so I'm getting tireder and tireder, and we're starting to do the math of like, okay, at this pace, we're gonna finish this loop at such and such a time, and if it takes between 3 and 4 hours to do these 10 miles, and we've got 20 more miles or 25 more miles, like, all right. I originally hoped to be done at 6 a.m. That was my goal, 24 hours.
Yeah.
And we're doing the math going, all right, 11, 12 might be realistic now. It could be
the next day.
Yeah, it could be 1 p.m. on Sunday. And then it's like, all right, well, I can't think about running right now. Maybe when we get back to the aid station, give me like 5 minutes to just like close my eyes.
Yeah.
So then we shuffle on, like 10 minutes go by. I'm like, all right, so when we get back to the aid station, give me like 10 minutes. I just want to like close my eyes for like 10 minutes. And then things are just getting harder and harder. And I'm like, all right, so when we get back to the aid station, like 30 minutes, let me just sleep for like 30 minutes and like regroup. And meanwhile, like there's people just sleeping on benches who are like part of the race, not homeless people, just people who don't have a pacer, and they're in the middle of the wilderness by themselves.
They just had to,
and they're like, they couldn't take another step, and they're just sleeping on a bench.
Oh my goodness.
And so we're like, you guys doing okay? We're checking on the people.
Was it enticing seeing that? Like,
oh yeah, I was like, all I want to do is sleep right now. It's all I want to do. I'm done with this. I want to sleep.
Yeah.
So I know when we make this one turn to start heading back towards the trailhead, like the transition area, start finish, it's about maybe 3 miles away, and it gets to be dirt instead of the gravel. And so for like an hour in my head, I'm like, all right, that dirt is going to feel so soft. I can't wait to get onto that dirt.
Yeah.
And like, when we get to the dirt, I'm going to run. And we got to the dirt, and I couldn't like take another step. Like I don't know how to describe this. My hips, my muscles were just empty. Like I couldn't lift my foot off the ground. Like if there was a pencil on the ground, I couldn't step over it.
Just completely immobile. Like,
yeah, I couldn't lift my leg anymore.
Oh my goodness.
And so we kind of stopped, put my hands on my knees for a while, and I was like, Daryl, I think this is it. Like I don't think sleeping is going to help. Like I'm just empty. I don't have any. There's nothing left in my legs. And we kind of talked about, we were walking for a little bit before that, and I was just like, all right, I can do this. Like I think I could death march this and just be out here for 11 more hours. But I was like, who cares? Like I don't need to do this. Nobody's going to be more impressed. I'll do damage to my body if I try to do that. So about mile 80, 81 is kind of when I got on the soft dirt and couldn't lift my leg anymore. And it's like,
this was at the aid station?
No, so we're about 3 miles before the aid station.
Gotcha.
And I was like, Daryl, I this is it. I think I need to call it. And he's like, I think so too. And he frankly goes, I'm glad you made the decision, because I didn't want to have to tell you that.
Oh,
like I don't know that he would have let me go on another loop even if we finished.
If your willpower was just pushing.
Yeah, I think as a friend and somebody who loves and cares about me, I don't think he would have let me go out even if I wanted to. Wow. So it was really good. He was relieved that I made that call, and he didn't have to like pull me out, because that's a hard thing to do as a friend, of like, if the guy wants to keep going and you got to be like, no, I can't let you do this. Yeah. So I think we were both relieved of like, that's just obviously it's the right decision. And so, but at this point we're 3 miles away. I can't get there. Like even though I knew, okay, I'm done. I don't have to do 20 more miles. All I have to do is walk up this hill.
How far are you?
We're about 3 miles away.
Or I mean like.
Or we're at mile 80 or 81, something like that.
Okay.
And so I've done 80 miles. 3 isn't all that much more. And I felt relieved. Okay, I don't have to be out here for 11 more hours. I'm done. I'm just going to go home. This is great. But even with that relief, I couldn't move.
You're still trapped.
I couldn't move. And so I was like, all right, here's what I think, if you could just help me lay down over here on this driveway. So like, he carries me across this ditch and across the street. And like
actually carry
I'm just hanging on. I'm on my feet, but I'm hanging on him with all my weight. And so then I'm like, all right, do you have your phone? Let's put a pin in the map so you can remember where I am.
Oh no, my goodness.
And I'm like, I'm just gonna be here. Why don't you run those 3 miles, get the car, and come back and get me?
Yeah.
And I'm just hoping like he doesn't clear that pin or somehow. And
yeah.
So I end up I'm sleeping in this person's driveway. My body temperature drops immediately, and so I'm shivering. Like my whole body's just trembling.
Really, and I mean, even with all the body fat too. Like,
yeah, I've been burning calories all day long, and so I'm just shaking.
Is it like 3 a.m. now?
Yeah, it was about 2 a.m. or so.
Okay.
2:15, something like that. My whole body's trembling, but I'm like in and out of like consciousness and awake and sleep. And every now and then another runner would go by and like they just see a runner laying down basically in the street, like shaking, and they're like, but they're tired too. They're no help.
Yeah,
but they offer.
What would they do?
Exactly,
lay on you?
They can send help back, but most of them who notice me, you're like, doing okay over there? And I'm like, yep. I'm like, all right, like they get it. Like none of them like even looked twice. Like many of them checked on me. Yeah. But it wasn't like, that's not okay. They're like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, they've been there.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. So I'm sleeping, trembling in this like gravel driveway for like 30, 40 minutes.
Oh my goodness.
Because he's got to run all the way there. And
is it raining too, by the way?
No, it's just cold at this point. And I should have gotten layers from him. Neither one of us were thinking. I think I was in such a bad spot. He was like, I got to go and get a car. Yeah. Because normally he's pretty responsible. And retrospect, should have given me his coat. So he comes back and I'm like, yeah, the car's here. But I can't get up. I'm stuck on the ground. Like I'm not able to get off the ground. I can't.
Spring up?
So he kind of fireman carries me off the ground and like shoves me into the car. So we go back to the tent area, and we pull in. I was like, you know what? It's at this point, it's, I don't know, 2:30, 2:45.
And there's still somebody at the tent.
Oh yeah, there. Well, not my. It's just a band.
I mean, not your tent. I mean, like
the race is still going on. People are going to be out there for 12 more hours.
Okay.
So my stuff is all there, and Charlotte was going to be there for the finish at like 6 a.m. So I was like, you know what? She's going to be here in like 3 hours anyway. Let's just leave the stuff. And he's like, I'm here. I don't need to make her drive 40 minutes each way to get your stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't help you. Like, he's like, no, I got it. I'm like, I can't move, Daryl. He's like, I got it. So like 10 minutes later, he comes back in. He's like, how do you get like your tent down? Because there's all buttons. So
yeah.
And so he said, oh no. He's like, I got it. So he packs up like bins of my clothing, bins of food, my whole tent. And at this point, Charlotte brought a table actually because we didn't want to steal the picnic table from everybody. So we moved all of our stuff onto my table. So he's taking this table down, all this stuff. And I'm like, all right, I'll go let the race people know that I'm dropping out so they're not worried. Uh-huh. So I spent like 5 minutes trying to get out of the car, just maximum effort, leaning on everything I try to lean of. I'm like, I can't get out of the car.
Like your body just would
so
not.
He gets everything. He's like, that's all. We're all loaded up. And I was like, I give him my bib number. Can you go tell them that I'm done? Like, so that they don't think I'm out there.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh yeah, I got it. No problem. So at this point I send Charlotte a text message of, hey, I'm fine. I'm done for the day.
Surprised you had the energy to.
Yeah. I'm like, nothing worried about, but I'm coming home. Daryl's got all the stuff. Mm-hmm. So we're driving home and I'm thinking to myself, all right, I don't know if I remember my garage code, like, to open the garage door. I don't have a key with me.
Yeah.
Charlotte was going to bring me home.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, if she didn't get this message and I don't know the garage code, like, what am I going to do? And I'm like, all right, I think I know the code. My brain's foggy. And at this point, I'm like, Daryl's he can just unload everything. I'm accepting the help. I'm useless.
Can't do anything.
He's awesome. So Charlotte gets the text message like as we're driving in. So she comes out, helps Daryl unload. But
good.
I'm thinking to myself before Charlotte lets us in, I'm like, all right, let's say I get in the house. I don't think I can get up the stairs. So I'm picturing myself like I might just fall asleep on the foyer, like the entryway floor.
Yeah.
But I don't want my kids to see that in the morning, like just crime scene pose, like chalk outline dad at the bottom of the stairs.
You probably don't want them waking you up either.
Right. Well, I don't that. Like, I'm scared that if they saw me, like they might think I'm dead. So I'm like, all right, I should write a note.
Put it on your back.
Tape it on my back. Like I'm fine. Daryl brought me home.
Let me.
Yeah, everything's okay. So I'm like, all right, I can write a note. I can just like put it on me to sleep.
In fact, this was your only viable option you thought of. Like
that was my plan. So that was my plan. But Charlotte was able to help unload. Got me upstairs.
So they brought you through the front door.
I got in through the garage.
Oh, garage. Okay.
Every step was maximum effort.
So you did walk.
It's hard to describe. So for the rest of that evening and all of the next day, my family cared for me like I was like an invalid. So literally I'd be like sitting on the side of the bed and Charlotte would like grab me by my ankles and like put my feet in the bed. And then if it was time, if I had to go to the bathroom, I'd be like, hey, Micah, could you help me put my feet on the floor? Because I couldn't move my feet onto the floor.
Yeah.
And then I had hiking poles everywhere in the house with me.
Yeah.
So I would like rock on the couch, and then Micah or Alexis or Titus would be like underneath my arm or one on each, and I'd rock 2 or 3 times, and they'd shove, and I could stand.
Wow.
And then I remember that Sunday there was a hockey game on, and the period intermission happened. I wanted a drink of water, and it took me 15 minutes to get from the couch to the kitchen and back. So
you didn't just stay in your bed for
I moved around.
entirety.
Partly I couldn't sleep because my toes and feet were so sore. Like the sheet touching them would wake me up. Like if anything bumped. So
yeah.
So I was cold because my feet were out, but it hurt too much to have them on.
That was the best option.
And if I didn't have my poles, or like as I was transitioning away from poles, I had to. I don't know how to describe this, but like I'm wearing jeans right now. I would have to hold like my pajama pants or my jeans and lift my leg because my hips, I didn't have any strength to lift my foot off the ground. So I had to use my hands to lift my foot up for like a 4-inch step. Like I like for each step I had to like lean on a pole and like elbow on the wall and use my other hand to like lift my leg so that it could get up the step, and then I have to like regroup and position my weight and put the pole in the other hand and use my other hand to like lift my foot to get up that step.
Like could you feel your like muscles trying to move?
Yeah, it was a really strange thing. I almost felt like somebody who had a stroke, how I imagine they might feel, where they know their body part's there, but it's not doing what they want it to.
You could feel it, right? Like, it wasn't just like
I was trying, like I had control, but it didn't respond.
Yeah.
It's like I say, I imagine somebody who's had a stroke, they see their hand and like their brain is telling it to do the thing, and it's just like, but instead of the brain not communicating, just the muscle on the other side, it was just too weak. It could not take a step. Yeah.
So you're at home. You get home early Sunday morning. Do you just sleep the day?
So yeah, I got up. I was able to get a shower and then get into bed.
I don't know how you.
Yeah, I just the next really 24 hours was just sleep and getting calories and fluid. And
did you want to eat at that point? Like
the next morning, I was pretty hungry.
So like Monday morning,
Sunday morning. No,
okay.
Yeah, I don't remember what time I actually woke up. 9 or 10 maybe. So I got a few hours of sleep. But yeah, I was really hungry.
Was it a feast? Like what?
Yeah, just the next day and a half was just eating and drinking.
Was there like a meal? Is there something you thought of, or is it just like more of your just gelatin?
No, it was real food. Anything and everything. I think we had like bacon and eggs and sausage and waffles and cheeseburgers and just
all of it. All of the food, carbs,
all
meats.
the food. Yeah, lots of water, lots of electrolyte drink.
But you try to like stretch or like.
So I knew I should, and I also had, they call it like a stick, like a little roller thing.
Yeah.
And I knew that would feel good, but it scared me. So Charlotte,
bad.
Charlotte kept offering like, "Would you want me to roll you out?" I was like, "Not right now." Well, like, okay, an hour or two later, do you want me to do it before lunch? Nah, maybe after lunch.
Yeah,
and after lunch, you want me to do it? Maybe before dinner, maybe before bed, maybe in the morning.
Did not want.
I think it would have felt good, but like everything was so tender and so sore. Like it scared me.
Oh my goodness. So Sunday was just a lot of grabbing your leg.
Yeah. And Monday wasn't much different. Monday was Memorial Day, so we were off. I think it might have been Tuesday when I stopped using the poles, like Tuesday afternoon. So Sunday I didn't do it. Sunday I was just a lump.
Yeah.
Monday I'm getting around with the poles with a lot of effort. By Tuesday I was like, all right, I think I can try to go to the bathroom without using my walking sticks.
Mm-hmm. You're still using like walls.
Yeah, still leaning on things. And yeah, so now at this point, still a few more blisters are healing. My right knee's a little bit sore, but I can do stairs. I have not gone on any runs yet. I jogged on Tuesday because I was late to Mirror Lake for my volunteering. So I jogged. It was the first time I've run since, speaking about like hurry and rush.
Yeah.
I ran because I was late for a thing. It's the first time I've run since this event.
Did it hurt?
No, it was okay. It felt pretty good. I was aware of like, ooh, this is different. I need to be kind of careful here. So I'm still going to be careful for a couple more weeks before I do any training.
Besides blisters, was there any like noticeable like my calf turned purple and
no, my two pinky toes are purple still, and some blisters.
But like they legitimately bruised. Like it
yeah,
it
didn't
just feel like
yeah, they're beat up.
What? So okay, so I guess you feel, I don't know, on a scale from like 1 to 10, how do you feel recovered now as of June 6th?
Yeah, I'd say a good 12 days. I'd say a good 8. I feel healthy. I feel strong. I'm trying to be wise and not jump in too quickly.
Yeah, training for that 200
but
mile.
But I could probably run a marathon today.
Wow. So yeah, do you think you feel better for it? Like, not that like, I don't know, running 100 miles was like training for anything else, but like, I don't know. Like, yeah,
the fitness is still there. So I think for all the training I did to get ready for it, like that cardiovascular work and kind of the muscle that came with that, like I'm fitter as a result of the training.
Yeah.
Now my body certainly got damaged in the run itself. But I think I'm largely recovered from that damage, but I've maintained, like I still have a lot of the benefits from the fitness.
Okay. Some like, I don't know, key questions, like some generic umbrella questions from this. There's just always just like so much to unpack. Like, I don't know what I'm wondering, but in a broad sense, maybe specific, what did you learn like from this? Like, not that like,
yeah, good question.
You ran 100 miles to find out who you are or what are your body's limits, but like what did you learn from this?
Yeah,
what was the takeaway? A
few things I learned in terms of running. I relearned once again for the 100th time. I have to eat. It sounds so dumb, but it doesn't matter if it doesn't sound good. Suck it up, eat it anyway. Just choke it down. So,
do you think you would have?
I think if I was doing it again, I think if I had eaten more calories more consistently, I maybe could have gone farther. Although I don't know, my body, I was done by the end. I couldn't move.
Yeah.
But some of that might be because of calories. So I think I learned about the importance of calories. I think if I was doing it again, I would have had walking sticks, like hiking poles, sooner. Other than those two things, I don't think I had really any like deficits in preparation.
But not so much on like what you would do differently.
So those are like the running learning. My broader learnings were a couple things. One was just I felt really thankful. Well, for several things, but maybe a smaller one first. When I decided I was done, I was so at peace about that. Like I wasn't embarrassed. I didn't fail. I didn't do this to impress anybody, for one. I think that's part of it. Like, my identity wasn't tied into this. I wasn't like, oh, I'm not going to be able to tell my kids. Like, no. 81 miles is what I had that day. And I'm really proud of that. And it was, and not just proud of it, like, look what I did, but like, it was great. It was a great adventure. I had a lot of fun for a lot of the day.
For a lot.
So it was, you and I, Shane, we've been talking about rest a lot recently and recognizing our limits and seeing limits not as failings, but just we're people. Like, we have limits, whether that's emotional capacity or energy, like, that's okay. And so I learned, like, I can be okay with recognizing a limitation. My much bigger learnings and things I'm still processing is how great it is to have friends and people who show up for you. We talked about this briefly the other day, but I had people who cared about me and people who showed up for me, and my wife and kids supported me, and they spent tons of time driving around honking and driving back and forth and getting me there. And they did so much in the next few days. They were so supportive. But specifically outside of the family, to have Mike and Kevin and Lance and Daryl give out of their Memorial Day weekend and come support me. And it was boring for them in some ways. I mean, nobody complained, but like, I was running really slow and we were in the middle of nowhere. And
these are like professional runners. And
yeah, these guys are great runners. And so, and specifically, like, just Daryl's willingness to scrape me off the ground, like literally scrape me off the ground and pack up all my stuff and to see me at my very worst, at least in a physical sense. And for him to be so joyful and automatic about it. Yeah, that's what friends do. And so my learning behind that is gratitude for one, but just a recognition. You can't fast track that. Like you have to get there. And I think the way you get there is you put in a lot of time together. So like if you want people who are going to show up for you, you have to show up with them over and over and over again.
You say with and not like for.
Yeah, like so with Daryl specifically, he's head coach at Federal Way Track Club, and I've been volunteering for the last 6 years for 2 seasons a year, cross country and track. And so we spend 2 or 3 evenings a week together for, 6 months of the year for 2 hours each night, rain or shine or snow. And we're there to help coach these kids. And we're not having deep conversations. We're showing up with each other for this thing. And if I had just been a dad who dropped off my kid and didn't stick around, or like if I had showed up once a week or once a month, or if I just showed up for races and said, "Oh no, I'm part of your club," like I don't know you.
Yeah,
it's like to put in all that background work meant that when it really mattered, he was there for me. And just how slow that can get, like how slow that might take to build such a relationship, but the payoff, not just in my needs were met, but the payoff of knowing somebody loves me and cares for me and we can be there for each other is so beautiful. And I don't know. I'm sure if I'm not sure if I'm being very articulate right now or not, but it's the difference between somebody, like I'll say church, for example. There are people I see every Sunday, and we all miss Sundays. It's okay. But there are people who volunteer. They show up. They're here. We're doing life together, and we know each other. And we love each other. And there's other people I've never met, and they walk in and go, "Well, I'm a member here. I don't know you. Like I've never met you. Like I don't know anything about you. You don't know anything about me. We can't pretend like we have this great history in common and we have love. We don't know each other. I can be civil to you, but you're a stranger to me." Compared to, we spend all this time together and it's like we have a beautiful thing. And what made the one beautiful versus stranger isn't necessarily we had all these deep conversations. No, we just showed up together over and over and over again. And by showing up like with each other, like alongside of each other for a common thing, that showing up with one another allowed us to be able to be in a spot where we can be there for each other. It's like, if you want somebody to be there for you, you have to be there with them over and over and over again. And there's no other way to have that.
So in a lot of, I don't know, like similarities of, I wouldn't even saying like I think relationships take time, they take work, but like in the same vein as running 100 miles, like prepping for that, you can't just show up and expect to just happen. Like it's gonna take time and energy, and like for running 100 miles, but in the same way, like in a relationship, it's gonna be 100 miles of time together before when whatever happens, the unexpected happens, when you need each other.
Yeah, we don't see the background work in a lot of life. So especially with kind of like social media platforms, not picking on social media, but what you see is somebody's finished product.
Yeah.
They're really good at this thing, and you don't see the hundreds of hours that it took to get there, whether it's a skill or maybe it's just a beautiful person and they look really beautiful. They're on the beach. Yeah, it's because they spent 1,000 hours at the gym and they were crazy disciplined at the supermarket and they really intentionally rationed their food. Like they did all of these things that were no fun, and there is a payoff, but there's so much work that goes into it.
Yeah.
And we just see the final product and we covet it. I want that. Okay, that's not a bad thing, or many of these things aren't bad things, but you got to do the legwork to get there. Like Michael Jordan was awesome. He had certain natural God-given talent, right? But you don't just get to go to his championship highlights and be like, well, I just want to do that. Like, you don't see the thousands and thousands of hours taking free throws.
Yeah,
like that's not fun. I mean, it might be fun, but it might not be fun for a lot of the time.
That's what. Yeah, my voice teacher would always say, like, you're not a professional vocalist. You are a professional practicer.
Yeah,
like that is what you are.
And even people who are like professional pianists, besides like the obscure savant, they're practicing scales.
And even the savant too. Like you taught, like you asked them about like the work they took to get this. Like, no, this doesn't, it never just happens.
So reading about the difference between like experts and amateurs, one of the things I remember a few years ago was the experts spend more time doing like scales than the amateurs, because the amateurs just want to play. So they want to jump to the song, which is great. But the people who are the best in the world spend way more time doing the basic finger drills than the people who aren't that good.
Yeah.
And you'd think it would be people who aren't good who have to practice more. So just kind of applying that same sort of thing to not just running, but especially people and friendships, that it's the boring over and over repetitiveness that gets you those amazing moments. And short of going through some trauma together, I don't think there's a way to fast track that.
Yeah.
You just got to put in the time.
Can't just sprint 100 miles and expect to.
Right. It is energy, it is work, but I think I keep saying time because I really think time. Like relationships take work, and you got to talk and be vulnerable and find common interests. But to me, all of that is still secondary to showing up with each other. If you don't show up, you don't have a chance to find the common interest. If you don't show up, you don't have a chance to work through struggles. If you don't show up, you don't have a chance to discover things about each other that add all this depth. So all the beautiful things in a relationship all come back to, were you even in the same room together? Because if that's not the case, the other things can't happen. And if you keep showing up with each other, those other things are probably going to happen.
Yeah.
So just that investment of time of, you just have to keep showing up.
Just show up.
Yeah. There's no substitute for showing up. And showing up might be a phone call. Like you can have a friend in Japan that you talk to every other day. Great. Show up for that conversation. But if you don't show up for the conversation, you're never going to have the depth and the meaning and the love. Just a big takeaway for me from running 81 miles.
From that, got one more silly question.
Okay, sure.
Would you do it again?
So that's a good question. So I would say from mile like 65 to 80, it was an obvious no. This is stupid. It's not fun. It hurts. This is something I've been curious about for 10 years. I've been wanting to do it. I put in good effort, and I tried it. I don't need to do this again. I'm glad I did it. Even in the midst when it was awful, I was glad I tried it, but it's stupid. I'm not going to do this again. A couple of days later, I start thinking, all right, if I could probably eat a little more sooner. I could probably use my poles sooner. I had good training, but I skipped a few because I had a little travel and sickness, and so I had a little 3-week bump. I don't know. I'm not ruling it out. I'm not excited right now to do it again.
Yeah.
But so I will say this. I think I'll do the 100K again. So I did the 100-kilometer race at the same event in 2019.
Yeah.
And then this year I ran 20 more miles. But my 100K this time was actually 23 minutes faster than 5 years ago.
Wow. So even in the midst of trying to run 100 miles,
yes,
you beat yourself.
Yep. So I was planning on running 40 more miles. I ended up running 20 more miles, but I did it 23 minutes faster than I did before.
That's insane. Wow.
And I wasn't trying to beat it. So I think now I'm like, all right, if I was just going for 100K, I bet I could take another half hour off. So that's intriguing right now. So that first 62 miles, it was getting hard by the end. But it was a reasonable kind of hard. It felt unreasonable from like 70 to 80. But first 62, I'd be curious.
So yeah, who knows on 100 mile, but 100K,
I think so.
Much more feasible, doable, realistic.
So that's one possible goal. I might go after a fast marathon next. I've never run like a really fast one, but I'd like to try.
I'd be curious. That'll be the sequel.
So yeah, we'll see what's next. Either 100K or a fast marathon. Those are a couple options.
Or just a 5K, maybe a walk around the park.
Yeah. Or if somebody's going to do hood to coast and you need somebody slow on your team, let me know. I'm your guy.
Yeah, hood to coast. All these running events, I have no idea what they are.
Yeah, I might run around a couple mountains this summer or next too.
Just a couple mountains.
So Mount St. Helens, the Lewitt Trail is 31 miles. You can you can do the whole circumference of Mount St. Helens.
I mean, after 100 or 80 miles,
right? So 31 feels reasonable.
That's wild.
So we'll see. That might happen this summer. Or Mount Hood in Oregon, 42 miles. That's hard, but that's pretty fun.
Man, I thank you for sharing like so much about running, all the deep nuances of how relationships play into running. Any final things, comments, horror stories that you haven't gotten to say yet about running?
Not for the podcast today. It's a lot of fun. You don't have to be a runner to be an awesome person. So do whatever you do it well.
So
find some people to do it with. Life is much better shared. That takes work and time.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for running for us, so we don't have to.
It's good. Happy to do it.
Now we can all talk about running, what it's like running without having to do the hard work that goes into it.
And also, you are welcome. I'm not posting any pictures of battle wounds from this. If you watch videos on YouTube of ultramarathoning, I'm going to warn you right now. They're going to put pictures of their feet up, and it is not something you want to see. So you're welcome. We're not going to do that here.
So on that note,
there you go.
Good luck running out there, running in real life, or taking the time with relationships and other things that are important in this life. Show up, do what matters. I don't know.
Yeah.
Eat
well.
Give me fuel. Give me fire.
Thanks. Is that gonna be your outro music? We'll get sued by Metallica. Don't do that.
Yeah. Well, you can imagine it. All right. See you later, folks.
All right. Take care, friends.
That's the end of the episode, but we want to continue the conversation. Continue the conversation by sharing this episode, subscribing, or leaving a review. Connect with us on Instagram at 2414 Podcast. Connect with us through email at 2414@stlukes-church.com. Or best of all, keep the conversation going by inviting someone to process with you, so that you can each walk away with more understanding that leads to more conversation as the journey continues. If you happen to be in the Seattle-Tacoma area of Washington, stop by on a Sunday morning and say hi. 2414 is a podcast produced by St. Luke's Lutheran Church in Federal Way, Washington. To find more content, discover upcoming opportunities to connect in person, or to support the show, head on over to stlukes-church.com. Thanks for walking with us.